Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is notoriously ambiguous, highly coveted, and honestly, one of the toughest leaps to make in the tech industry: the transition from senior to staff engineer. But here's the catch: this leap is undergoing a massive transformation right now. We're going to break down exactly how to navigate this shift, especially as AI completely reshapes how we write and deploy code.
So let's kick things off with a question that honestly keeps a lot of top-tier developers up at night. You execute flawlessly, you deliver faster than anyone else on your team, and you handle the absolute most complex coding tasks with ease. Yet, you just can't seem to break through that engineering ceiling. Why is it that so many incredibly talented, so-called 10x coders get stuck right here? Well, Jordan Cutler, a staff engineer over at Pinterest, absolutely nailed it when he said, staff engineering operates on dimensions most engineers never think about. See, advancing isn't just about writing more code. You actually need a completely different mindset. Moving up requires shifting your entire perspective away from just your individual contributions and focusing instead on cross-team multiplication. It's really about how much others can achieve because of what you built.
Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with the senior engineer ceiling, define the staff archetype, look at the strategic thinking framework, tackle solving high complexity problems, discuss influence without authority, and finally wrap up with staff engineering in the AI era.
All right, part one, the senior engineer ceiling. There is a massive, massive contrast between your own personal execution and amplifying the entire organization's impact. If you look at Monzo's engineering progression framework, it explicitly states that impact is the main driver for progression. It's not about performing specific, complex coding routines anymore. It's literally about expanding your surface area. You have to go from owning a single feature to owning the scalable systems and the engineering standards that allow 5 other teams to build their features faster. But there's a huge trap here. Industry expert Will Larson calls it snacking. You know the feeling, right? Snacking is when you take on easy, low-value work, like knocking out a minor bug ticket or quickly changing a button color, because it gives you that instant dopamine hit of gratification. It feels super productive in the moment, but it actually stalls your career because it keeps you away from the high-stakes strategic challenges that matter. So I want you to mentally pull up your Jira board right now, or whatever project management tool you use, and honestly ask yourself, are you truly strategizing, or are you just snacking on easy wins? Because if your day is filled with low-cost, low-value tasks, you are operating as a senior, not a staff engineer.
Let's move right along to section 2, defining the staff archetype.
Will Larson breaks the staff role down into 4 distinct buckets, which is great because it proves there isn't just one single path to reaching this level. You have the tech lead, who guides execution. You've got the architect, who owns massive technical complexity. There's the solver, someone who dives headfirst into critical, transient problems, fixes them, and moves on. And finally, the right hand, who works directly with senior executives to scale impact across the business. You really need to identify which of these archetypes naturally fits your strengths. That brings us to section 3, the strategic thinking framework. Okay, so how do you actually execute at this level? Engineering leaders like Shweta Saraf over at Netflix rely on Richard Rumolt's strategy trio. It gives you a repeatable framework to tackle massive organizational issues. You always start with diagnosis, actually talking to stakeholders to find the real underlying problem. Then, you establish a guiding policy, setting the core tenets that anchor your vision, and only then do you move to coherent action, the clear execution steps. This stops you from just running around reacting to symptoms.
Because listen, even the best, most well-intentioned engineers fall into the trap of just duct taping the cracks. For example, trying to fix technical debt with a quick hack day without establishing any architectural principles first. When the next business use case inevitably pops up, all that tech debt work becomes completely irrelevant because the why was never addressed. You simply cannot afford to be purely tactical at the staff level.
All right, section 4, solving high-complexity problems. This is where things get really intense. A true staff engineer takes a sprawling, messy problem with cascading cross-team impacts and builds resilient solutions. Look at this real-world example from Linux. They didn't just write new code to move to an event-driven architecture. They anticipated the failures. They managed distributed state. They used Saga patterns to break down massive database transactions, enforced idempotency so duplicate requests wouldn't break the system, and built dead letter queues to catch failed messages safely. They solved the chaos so the rest of the engineering team didn't have to worry about it. When you're tackling changes with stakes this high, you have to remember that perfect is often the enemy of progress. Honestly, evaluating trade-offs is the true mark of a mature engineer. You build fallbacks, you design for failure, and you actively leverage the expertise of other people across the company instead of trying to be the lone hero.
Next up is Section 5, Influence Without Authority. This is a big one.
Let's look at Jordan Cutler's approach at Pinterest again. When he realized search pages were lagging, he didn't just toss a complaining ticket over the fence saying, "Hey, search is slow." No, he quantified the business cost, pointing out that fixing it saves 100 milliseconds. And better yet, he reduced all the friction for the target team by giving them the exact implementation fix. Influence is all about making it incredibly easy for other teams to say yes to your improvements. The r/staff engineering community on Reddit actually refers to a lot of this as invisible work. You are quantifying your review influence. Think about it. It's not about how many lines of code you personally merged. It's about how you alter the trajectory of the entire code base through your code reviews, catching scaling bottlenecks early, and cross-training junior devs so you aren't a single point of failure.
And finally, Section 6, Staff Engineering in the AI Era.
Get this. According to Cursor's Developer Habits Report, developer coding speed has literally doubled year over year, a 2x increase. That is a staggering metric. What it tells us is that raw execution, simply being fast at typing out logic, is no longer your competitive advantage. AI tools are doing the heavy lifting of raw coding, which means the value of an engineer is rapidly moving up the stack. So to survive and thrive right now, you really have to stop being a solo coding machine. You need to become the person who defines the developer experience for everyone else. For instance, Jordan Cutler set up a company-wide #HowIAI Slack channel that exploded to over 1,200 members. Or think about implementing automated doubt bots that critique code right in the CI/CD pipeline. AI is taking over the execution duties, so your focus must shift to architecture, context engineering, and safety guardrails.
Engineering leader Shweta Saraf has this fantastic rule for this exact shift. Time is currency. Every single hour you spend swatting down a low-leverage bug is an hour you aren't spending designing an automated system that could prevent 1,000 of those bugs. You have to be absolutely ruthless about spending your daily currency on strategic initiatives.
So tomorrow morning, before you type a single line of code, I want you to ask yourself this one provocative question. Are you building things where other people can do more simply because of what you built? If you can shift your focus to genuinely answering yes to that question, well, you're not just coding anymore, you're leading. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. Now go out there and expand your surface area.